Storygram Network.
Hosting for this podcast is generously provided by Transistor at transistor.fm.
If you would like It's Not About Food podcast a week earlier and ad-free, please support me on patreon.com/It's Not About Food. For more information about my books, my work, and my body love cards, you can go to my website at itsnotaboutfood.com. Hi, my name is Laurelee, and this is It's Not About Food. So it's not about food, and it's not about weight. What is it about? Everything else. Because it's never ever about food or weight. Never ever. Not even one time. Not ever. Ever, ever. Hello, everyone. This is Laurelee from It's Not About Food podcast. And today we're talking about trusting the process. Easy to say, hard to do. And the picture of the goddess is she is sort of jumping from one cliff to another cliff, and there's water underneath her, but she looks like she's trusting that she's going to make it to that other side. And of course, her dear power animal has already jumped and is already on the other side. So the back of the card reads, recovery from body hatred and disordered eating provides many layers of learning that unfold uniquely and spontaneously. Trusting the process means that we all work through these experiences and issues at our own pace and in our own way. We can trust that our process is exactly right for us, and we don't have to waste precious time comparing ourselves to others. So what I love about this idea of trusting the process, first of all, that there is a process. There is a method to the madness, because when we first step on the path to any recovery, whether it's alcohol or drugs or cigarettes or relationships or eating disorders or body hatred, it doesn't really matter what it is. You have to trust that you are stepping on the right path. And we don't know that a lot of the times, until it becomes clearer. And you have to trust yourself. And for me, I didn't trust myself that much. I feel like I let myself down a lot, and I was told stupid stuff. And so just having to have that faith and trust in me, it was very hard for me to get that. But I was able to, at some point, learn how to have trust in my body and trust that other people around me that were sort of helping me were not lying. They were trying to steer me in the right direction. And I had a therapist that I trusted very much. So I was able to do that. But it was very hard because I wanted to only trust myself. And the reality is I was not taught really good stuff. So trusting that part of me was not very good until I learned how to be better for me. So I am so excited to have Katy on at Beyond Hunger. She was our brain, our right hand. She knew how to do everything. For years and years and years, she worked with me and Carol at Beyond Hunger, and just invaluable person to have by our side this whole time. I don't feel like we would have ever made it as long as we did, and still going on today for the Peer Ed program, without her by our side. So just really so much gratitude for Katy. And she's going to talk to us about how she has trusted the process. And especially having to trust Carol and I in our crazy process.
Hi, Laurelee. It's nice to be here and finally do this with you. And just sitting here, hearing you talk about me and Beyond Hunger, I think of recovery through osmosis almost. It's like,
definitely.
I have different paths of recovery from different things. And as a woman and girl growing up, I had my own body issues and eating stuff, and coming in working with you all at Beyond Hunger, it I don't know, 22 or 23 or whatever I was.
Right out of college.
Yeah, I wasn't even out of college yet. And
Yeah.
it was like I just kind of absorbed all of what Beyond Hunger was and what you and Carol lived while being there, and learned the Beyond Hunger process. And, my process was after, I don't know how many years of doing that work, I realized I loved my body finally. I loved myself, and that it was just constantly being engaged in that work and picking up the phone with other women who were struggling and helping them come into the program, and working with the young women who were presenting in the schools and things like that. So the process, it's a big theme for me, because for a lot of my life, I wanted to just put my head down and wait till the storm was over of my life, or just hold my breath until things were okay again. And one of my memories of when I first started trusting the process and accepting and being present through the process is I first started working with one of my therapists, and we were remodeling our kitchen.
Oh,
and I think I had just 2 kids at the time, but it was like the house was just upside down, and it was for like what felt like forever. And I meet with my therapist each week, and I just talk about how uncomfortable and how just horrible the current state was. And I said, I'll just have to just suffer like this for the next 5 weeks. And my therapist said, no, you've got to go sit in the mess for a certain amount of time each day. I want you to go meditate in the middle of the wreckage of
your
kitchen remodel, when nobody, obviously when I'm not in the way of the workers and things like that, because this is part of it. And that was a huge learning thing for me, is just the messiness is just as important as the outcome, and just to stay present in the mess. All of a sudden, this holding on of anxiety and just not having control and all this stuff started to dissolve, because I was present and accepting of the mess.
It is what it is. And that's not the only thing that you went through. You got a new dog. You remodeled a bunch of your house. I mean, there was a lot of stuff in a few short years that you were doing. Then another baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this idea of the process is, I don't know what it's going to be like tomorrow or in a week or in a month. And the beautiful thing is I don't have to worry about that, because all we have to really worry about is this present moment. And just relaxing and accepting and having love and compassion for however we are in this present moment is really all that we have. And the process unfolds itself. As long as I'm engaged in my process, the outcome's usually okay, but it's not even about that anymore.
Yeah. It's the fear of what is going to happen. And most of the time that doesn't happen. I had no idea how we were ever going to do any of the things we did at Beyond Hunger. Like, I can remember us looking at a new place to rent, and it was like, where's the money going to come from? I don't know. Do we like the place? It'll come if we like the place, Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I don't even know how I'm going to pay my bills next month, but it's just like one foot in front of the other, doing what we're meant to do, being trusting.
Open and honest and doing your work. Yeah, definitely.
And I was laughing about it the other day, because especially with financial struggles, it's like I was worried about it 3 months ago and I've made it till here. But part of my unrecovered or my impatient part of me says, yeah, but I just wanted to be gifted $100,000 3 months ago. But instead, it just comes day to day. You just get through it. You just work.
Yeah, our little minds come up with what we think is the answer.
Right.
And then something completely different happens. And I like the last sentence of the card. We don't have to waste precious time comparing ourselves to others. I mean, if I just took myself only, then I was going to be okay. But if I'm worried about what somebody else has or some other way that they've got it together, then all was lost. Then I got lost in that.
Yeah. And it's being able to honor other people's process too. I know my husband and I have been together whatever it is, 16 years and lots of ups and downs. And one of the things that I recognize is that like we can come to a space of agreement, but our paths are very different. But I can't show up and say, here's the answer to this if he's not there yet. He's got to have his process. He's got to phone his friends or, whatever it is to find out what it is to come to the right thing. And even though we may come to the agreement on the same thing, we got there very differently, and not to be frustrated with, well, I knew that all along. We all just need our own time and space. And allowing others to have that is huge in relationship, especially too.
It's really huge, especially when I barely know that I'm doing it right. And I certainly don't think they're doing it right. So, just looking at all of that stuff and going, is that really where I want to be with that thing, whatever that thing is? So tell me, I know that you went out on a big limb and got a new business, and how is that going? That's like having to really trust the process.
Trusting the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. So about a year and a few months ago, I left my longtime job of many years, and my husband and I reopened a pool room in Sacramento, and I've been running it because my husband keeps his normal job, so we have some stability.
Yeah, so the bills get paid.
And it was really scary and amazing, and it's a lot of work, and it's still a lot of work. And sometimes I feel like I wish I could just go to a job and be told what to do and clock out and come home and not have to think about it. And also, I know that every time I've thought that that's been the path, that's what I want. Like, I'm just going to go get a job and let other people run this. I'll spend some time looking for jobs, or I'll send out a resume, and then I won't even have time to check my emails to see if there's any response.
Right.
If whatever's the right thing will come for me in my path. And this is where I am right now. And I tell you, having employees who are like kitchen staff and cashiers, it's like having 10 more children. And it's a lot of business that we do. And it's amazing though, because I love when I go up there and just help out behind the counter, take people's orders, things like that, because we serve food and stuff. Because the interaction of people, this place has been there since 1968, and we reopened it after it got shut down for over 3 years. And there's very few places that people can go and hang out, all families of all ages. Inside it's warm, it's not crowded because it's a big space. Eat food, watch games on TV, play pool, play pinball, things like that. And people are so happy. To bring it back to the process, this is my service right now. This is my process this is where I'm showing up with my gifts in this world, in this little pool hall in Sacramento, where I never dreamed I would be, if I asked myself 10 years ago or 5 years ago. But it's been really cool. And it's been a process running a business with my husband too. God, that's a whole new layer of marital issues. But we got into our groove for a while too. Once we recognize what each other's strengths are and where to let the other one figure that out and communicate and all of that. So it's been like having a whole nother baby too, but it's more like a rowdy teenager that needs a lot of supervision. But it's been amazing.
If you would like to have a weekly newsletter that has some information about recovery, or what people are doing in the world, or what I'm doing in the world, and just information about how to recover and what to do, and how do we have faith and trust and love and openness to our own selves, you can go to my website at itsnotaboutfood.com.
Storygram Network.
Welcome to One Media, One Media.
When you're whining with nurses.
It's a place I like to call The Bleed.
My name is Laurelee, and this is It's Not About Food.
Storygram Network.
I joined Beyond Hunger about 3 years ago after my own eating disorder recovery. I've been with the Peer Ed program for over a year.
I've been a peer educator for a few weeks now.
Beyond Hunger is an amazing organization in which high schoolers like me get to go to schools across the Bay Area and educate teens and students on mental health, body image, intuitive eating.
I joined because it really helps people.
I joined the program because I believe that the information we provide people my age is very important.
Beyond Hunger has allowed me to connect with the youth in my community and reaffirm to myself what I know is true.
It has given me an opportunity to educate others and inform others around my age. And I just think it's a really wonderful program.
Because I want to teach other teens what I never learned. Appreciating your body through its ups and downs, navigating diet culture, and learning about intuitive emotions and hunger.
And I felt that it was super important to continue to make change in the community.
My name is Laurelee Roark, and I am one of the founders of Beyond Hunger. My business partner, Carol Normandy, and I founded it in 1988. But for the last 25 years, we've been going into schools and talking about the issue of eating disorders and body hatred. We train young women to go in with us, peer to peer, student to student, and it is a wonderful program. Please give generously. Thank you. It is amazing, and it's amazing that you have, I don't know, even though you want to work at Starbucks, you still have allowed yourself to do it. Still the next day, put on your apron and go, I mean, that's the process. And then somehow you'll get through it. Oh, it's beautiful.
I even played on my first season on a ladies pool team, like a league.
Oh my gosh.
This last thing. There's so many women who play pool, and it's just a fun group of people that I've discovered. And we do women's tournaments there and stuff like that, big ones. And we did one last year. We had people come out from like Alaska and New Mexico and just all over, and just the strength of it. And that's been a really fun piece too, to bring as a female-owned business and really to create that space for them and making sure their bathrooms are clean.
Yes,
so
exactly.
They want to come and hang out there. And
of course. And again, who knew this is where you would end up? And I know many times it's what's the big picture? Kind of didn't know what the big picture was for a long time. And now here it is. And there's more to be revealed too, all the time.
Yeah, I can't even say in probably a month I'll still be doing this, but
yeah, of course.
In a year or two, I don't know. And that's what I have to say, put a plug in, like trusting the process is fun because I don't have to worry about 5 years from now. And I'm doing what I'm doing right now, and my process, wherever I end up, there I'll be.
They say, just do the next right thing.
Yeah.
So that's what you're doing. And it always works for us to do that. And we'll know when we need to change or shift or change or whatever. Yeah, I'm so proud of you for doing this. It's such a neighborhood, joy, happy place. I don't know. It's fun. It's games.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's very few things that you just go out just to have fun, and everybody in the family can go. And
so great.
I have customers who say, I've been coming here since I was a toddler, or
wow.
I come here with my dad and my grandpa. Generations of people have been going there and say, thank you so much for keeping this place here. It's so important to a lot of people.
Yes. And how often does that happen in this throwaway society? There's generations of a restaurant or a pool hall or a store or whatever. It's beautiful.
You call our number and we pick up the phone. There's no online version of what we do. We stream our tournaments now and have online ordering and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a real in-person thing. And what I've realized is there's no substitute for that people need connection. That's a human necessity.
And I think that's one of the things that I learned from going through COVID, the shutdown. It really upset the whole world, turned it upside down, shook it, and then let's see where it goes. Because clients and people I know, it just really was very hard on our psyches to go through that. So good that you had that place.
Yeah.
that people could go to there.
Yeah. Well, it was shut down during COVID, but now that it's back open, people are, you can tell that some of the people they've not been out much since, and so this is one of the places they come because they feel comfortable because it's not real close. It's very low key. It's safe. It's warm.
Yeah. I mean, I know we have a little place here in Sonoma that had a New Year's Eve party, and they have a big room upstairs. They opened up all the windows and put all these fans in so they could have a little disco dance. And we were so happy to be there. And we're keeping our distance from other people, but we're so happy to be there. It just meant everything to me that we did that.
Yeah. We need to be around people.
We do. Completely. We're not good about that.
Isolation isn't always part of the process.
No. No. So when we think about working through experience and issues at our own pace and in our own way, you own something with another person. So how do you work with that? How do you let you trust yourself, and you have to trust the other person, even if they're a different pace and a different idea?
I think one of my favorite sayings is intimacy is shared vulnerability.
Yeah.
And I think where we had a really big breakthrough in our business together and the relationship around that is when I stopped trying to just figure it out, or I've got this kind of mentality, or I shouldn't say anything, and instead say that there's such beauty in the words, I need help, or what do you think about this? Because it's there where you really start that process of working together. And as much as we think men should be psychic, they're really not. They're really
At
not.
all.
At all. And so a lot of times you have to spell it out. I laugh when I talk to other mom friends or other people I know who are married and say, well, he should know that, or he should do that. And I go, no, if you have to tell them what you need, you have to tell them if you need help, you have to tell them, and I recently went through my own downward spiral and bottom and having to go through a whole another layer of recovery. And my husband had no idea until the stuff hit the fan. And yet when we worked through the muck down there in the mud, what's coming out of the other side, because I was able to really be vulnerable and just be authentic and say, I'm having a hard time, I'm hurting, I need help, I need support. And suddenly that gives a space for people to show up for you. And we're 1,000 times better than we were even long before, because we've gone through that together and we've shared this vulnerability. And so that's what I would say about having a business partner who's you're also married, or any partner, is the more you're able to be authentic and say what's on your mind, what you're afraid of, what you need help with, it actually doesn't show that you're weak, or, we always think that it's going to make me look stupid or weak or anything like that. But instead, it invites this amazing platform for more growth and working together, and areas where people can come in and collaborate.
Just as you're talking about this whole thing about trusting the process, of trusting both of you in the process as well, and trusting that everybody's doing their own work and their own thing, and that you're doing it together too, is beautiful. And saying, I need help. To me, that is one of the hardest things to ask for, but it always works when I do.
Yeah. And it's funny because when I come to my husband with a problem or something, I really shouldn't tell him until I want it to get solved, because, that's then his focus. It's okay. Wow, this is figured out. Okay. It's like,
yeah. I know the different in the process. I'm trying to talk through, and they just want to fix it. And I do say this, I don't want you to fix this. I want you to just listen to me. And that's really hard for him.
Yeah, it is. And so often it's also me respecting my process before inviting someone else in to support me or how that support works. Sometimes I need to have my own process, and sometimes that's internal with my spirit or, talking to a friend. But I know I need to have my process sometimes before I even reveal anything to anybody else.
Yeah, you have to figure it out. What's even bothering you in the first place? Because, we're talking about a lot of different things, but if we put it back into the recovery from body hatred and eating disorders, to trust that the body has a process and that my emotional self has a process and my spiritual self has a process. And I have to take all of those into account.
Yeah. And really listening to one of my more recent therapists really helped just encourage me to feel my body while I was dealing with anything, really. If I was trying to decide about A or B, but really checking in with the body and seeing how the body feels when we're at a certain place. What does my body feel like when I think about getting another job? Or what does my body feel like when I know I have to go to Sacramento today? What does my body feel like when I have to go pick my kids up from school? Because the body does know. And if we listen to it and trust our own signals.
Yeah. And it's such a big difference than telling it what to do all the time, which is how I lived a lot of my life.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Katy, I am so pleased that you were here today. And I wonder if you will read the last part of it, the Today I Will.
Today, I will practice trusting my process and knowing that I am right where I need to be on my path. I will practice viewing each situation as a learning experience and will be loving and accepting with myself as I move along my path.
Oh,
Amen.
Yes. And things go so much easier when we can do that. And I really appreciate you coming on and all the work that you did for us, Carol and I, and Beyond Hunger, and all the many years of so much help, really, so much help.
To the next 20.
To the next 20. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And drive careful.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening. And be sure and follow me on Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and itsnotaboutfood.com. Thanks.